see my little poster up front. I'm like, might as well throw it down.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are you doing today? I know it's early. I know we have, for me, scrambling a little bit. I had to go up there to business. I brought my young man with me this morning, which I'll talk on in a little bit. But first and foremost, I just want to thank you for being here. This is naturally a very important event in dealing with Lee County sustainability, our environment, and making sure that we are indefinitely putting things into place that will ensure that our kids inherit a positive place to live in, a place where they can flourish, a place where they're confident that, if they walk the straight and narrow, that things will be in place and they'll ultimately be able to be, catalysts for those that come after them. I'm gonna first start, I'll just talk about, my story, growing up here in Lee County, probably for about 15 minutes or so, then I'd actually like to, open up and field questions, from you all, as I know it's a lot of wisdom in the room. So I like to make sure as well that, I'm hearing from you, and that I can answer any questions as it pertains to, my experience in life and a number of the things that I've just been blessed to do, ultimately on just the path to fulfillment. And start by introducing myself again. If I'm Earnest, born and raised here. We grew up in the Dunbar community. My mom, I'm a fifth generation, Lee County resident. My mom was a nurse here for 30 plus years. She isn't here with me anymore. She passed in 2010. My uncle was one of the first African American pharmacists here in this community. And so on and so on. My grandfather owned one of the first, businesses here. He owned the shoe business in the 1930s. He owned the shoe business here. So I'm a product of, that lineage that's been able to be here in Fort Myers, to be able to submit itself here in Fort Myers. And that's what I model. I'm fortunate enough to model myself after. A big part of why I'm here and what I believe in is a lot of what we were talking about. I've kind of always viewed things as in an agricultural sense, meaning that I was planted here in this community. I'm kind of a planted seed here in this community. Where I grew up, it was a lot of violence, a lot of things growing up, going on where I came from. If it wasn't, drug dealing, if it wasn't violence, it was just the lack of positive male role models in the community that I had. And my mom kind of devised a plan for me to use athletics to be able to ultimately develop myself into what stands here before you today. She had a lot of foresight. I mean, obviously I couldn't see myself standing here speaking and doing a number of things, but she gave me something that helped me socialize myself, and helped me develop psychologically, and that was sports. She gave me 5 sports to play. Of course, I played football, baseball, basketball. I ran track, football, baseball, basketball, I ran track, and volleyball. Is it volleyball? And volleyball. So I can count on my hands how many times I rode home on the bus from school. But what she did? Every time I got out of my car from school, every time I got home from school, she rode me right past all the troubles that were going on in the community. And I wasn't able to get caught up in a number of things that were going on. And as we can see, right now, out especially in the Dunbar community, things have actually gotten worse. Worse in the sense that I believe that the kids don't have a firm foundation, as far as work ethic. We don't have a clear plan or any defined goals for themselves. And I think we're kind of suffering. I think we're kind of in a crisis because we don't have a real philosophy or principles or beliefs that we're truly connected to that I think was a lot more natural when I grew up, and probably well before me. I was a little bit on the tail end where I grasped, the little of those seeds that help make productive individuals. So here today, I have my what we call our Red Knight Unity Council. I'm also a head football coach over at North Fort Myers High School, and I wanted to make sure I brought these kids because I really feel like it really represents, what I'm about, what particularly males, need to be about in our community. And that's being able to transfer the wealth of our experience into future generations. So I want to introduce these guys really quick. First and foremost, we have Colton McMullen. We have Louis Alfonso, we have Najee Gote, and we have Michael Chase. And these guys right now, as far as our Unity Council is concerned, it's really, these guys are in the leadership position on our team. I think, as most of us know as parents and community members, that most kids are going to do what's required of them by their peers. And these guys, they're not in an easy position. They have to make decisions on behalf of the team. First of all, to foster accountability within the group. So these guys have to, anytime our guys have any transgressions, these guys are ultimately voting on what their punishment is, how they have to connect themselves to the team, and ultimately trying to bring kids who don't understand what we're trying to do within our football program along so they can grasp it and we can ultimately reach our goals as a team. Beyond that, I'm also an insurance agent. Me and my wife, we own our own insurance agency called Co-Player Insurance Group. She's a little upset because she thinks I'm out playing football all the time because I'm with these guys. But I wouldn't be what I am without her. So I always have to bring her up first and foremost because naturally God is first in my life, my family. She's brought me through a lot of tough times, and she's doing that right now and running the operations at the office and really taking care of our kids while I'm out at least trying to preach and just give a message of what our possibilities are if you just believe in what we have here in the county. I'm starting from a very, very, very young age. I like to always say that growing up, again, I didn't have much to believe in. I really didn't. Until my mom gave me sports, every introduction I had to someone outside of my community was in a very, very negative way. If someone who wasn't African American, he had a different skin color, came into my community, typically it was to buy drugs, it was to pick up young men, young women, all the things you could think about. That was the way that I experienced most people outside of my community. So first and foremost, I like to always talk to these guys, about experiences, about not forming their opinions of others on negative experiences they get, but always keeping an open mind and taking the time to go out and meet others and to understand that they're blessed to have something to develop socially that today is structured in ways that a lot of things are not structured in our society. I like to always say as well that I am the product of the totality of this community embracing what my mom gave for me as in terms of sports. I lived in every single part of this community because my mom moved every single year. Every time we met tough times. So I lived in Fort Myers. I grew up in the Dunbar community. I lived in Cape Coral. I lived in Lehigh. I lived in Sanibel. I lived in every single corner of Lee County. I can tell you about every single fishing spot in Lee County. I'm serious. I can tell you about everything that is going on. I don't like to say in the street, but in the street sense with common people, with those who are, leadership positions, to those who are prison cells. I can tell you everything, and I have friends from all walks of life. And that was something that was afforded to me because this community embraced me in its totality. So I would be nothing, without everyone in this community. Some of the doctors that my mom worked for, a lot of my coaches, a lot of the people that I just got a chance to meet because, I needed a place to stay. My mom couldn't afford to take me to a football game or a basketball tournament. And you know what? Another family could, so they brought me along and I stayed in the hotel, and she trusted those families to be able to take care of me while we went out and we competed, and I learned sportsmanship, and I learned about how to live positively, and that in fact some of these families that I got a chance to experience weren't just given everything. That these families had worked hard as well. Most people that I thought everybody in Cape Coral was rich when I was young. That's just a thought I had. Really, every time I went out there, I saw a nice house. I thought everybody had $1 million in the bank. And that can kind of really disrupt how you grow up if you don't have an intimate understanding of what every single man and woman is going through in our community. So sports really allowed me to do that, as well as my teachers. I always like to say, when I was 10 years old, I had a chance to teach my first class. My teacher by the name of Marie Perry, who was an angel of mine who is not here anymore, allowed me to take over. She was teaching an English class to Haitian immigrants over at Dunbar Community School. And one day I came into the classroom and I was helping her as an aide. And she just walked off from the class. She just walked off the classroom and told me it was my time to teach the class. I was 10 years old. And I had to either sink or swim, and I realized that I had a love for teaching because of that experience that I had, with the Reed Perry. But long story short, all those experiences have given me basically the wind beneath my wings, that allows me to come here today and actually feel comfortable and speaking here and telling everyone that, what you do, what you're out doing right now, really matters. We have we have a lot of parts of our community and our county that really needs your help. I'm doing my small part. I don't believe that I'm Superman or anything like that. I'm a guy that ran a football, that decided to open up some books and learn more about the world that we live in, and I have a chance to give back. So first and foremost, when we talk about sustainability, I believe in walking the walk. We have a lot of athletes that come from this area that have no desire to come back to this area because they really don't believe in this area. This area is small beans compared to a lot of things that are going on in the world. But I believe that this area has a lot of possibilities that other areas don't. I've lived in Miami, I've lived in Atlanta, I've been in Tampa. I was there for almost 11 years. I got a chance to play for the same team for almost 10 years, which really doesn't happen in the NFL. But this is the place that I call home. So first and foremost, I like to know how I can help, to make our home better. Then I like to be able to transfer to our young men how they can help to make this place better. So that is a large part of why I am here. That is at the heart of every single thing that I do. And I believe that leadership, this is the first thing that I make, I believe that leadership here is ultimately what we need, and these young men need to develop in that way. So to start, I like to just come out and say, hey, I'm here. I'm not above anybody. I know most people do not or may not have had some negative experience with guys who have played sports, because typically guys who play sports are not the most developed human beings. I can tell you firsthand. And I'm not the most developed human being. I have been what I call abducted for 20 some odd years, meaning I have been in one part. I've been in my own world for 20 some odd years. I was given football and sports when I was 6 years old. I retired in 2012, and all of a sudden I had to coach these guys, and I have a ton more gray hairs than I ever had. Just because these guys, they put me through a lot, and I had no idea what I was getting into. So I'm not here to lecture. I'm not here to tell you that I have all the answers. I'm really here to communicate and have fellowship and try to find out, how can I become a better person foremost, and how can I model what we need for these kids to be able to model me. Because I can promise you every single thing that I do and say that these kids watch. Every single thing that someone does and says, our young kids. I'm from the Dunbar community, so when I say Dunbar community, I'm not only focused on the Dunbar community. I talk to these kids about my problems because I know those problems intimately. So our kids from the Dunbar community, that's what they model. And a lot of people are beating us to the punch. Every time I go into a class, I see kids with headphones in their ears, I'm terrified. Because I know what kind of music they're listening to. I used to listen to the same music. These kids have access to it 24/7. Nobody tells them to take their headphones out of their ears in the classroom. And we all know psychologically, you learn by repetition. So everything that you're learning, that you're taking in, you start to believe that that's what life's about. It starts to become your philosophy. It starts to be how you walk and talk. And a lot of our kids have gone astray. We lost a 63-year-old grandmother not too long ago because of the actions of young kids who don't quite know what they're doing. They think it's fun and games. And matter of fact, other individuals are communicating that it is fun and games when it's not. So when we talk about in terms of sustainability, I'm a small part of that. You're all a small part of that. And this is an effort, to become whole. It really is. It's an effort to become whole. So I'm not sure where everybody is in terms of that. I know that everybody here can do something. So I like to know. I like to field questions. I like to know what I can do. I like to know intimately what you guys see as, some problems that we face, how we can attack those problems. And hopefully, we can find some solutions, or we can find some things that we come up with that I can communicate with the news press with, I can communicate in North Fort Myers High School where I'm at, I can communicate to my family, that I could communicate to the mayor and city manager of Fort Myers, that I could take from this experience today, and that you can take from this experience today, and we can have, something that we are all, pitching in on to be able to take care of the problem here, and which is why we're here to talk about sustainability. So I really like to actually open up for questions. I'm more of a Q&A person than I am a lecturer. I'm not a practice speaker or anything like that. But I'm a person that's had a set of experiences, and I'd like to know, what are you interested in, and how can I help? Yes. Mm-hmm. Right. Yes. Right. Exactly right. Well, first and foremost, the Unity Council, it was actually an idea, and I believe most people credit Jim Harbaugh on it. It's actually an idea.
Can you repeat the question? We can't.
Oh, sorry. The question, he wanted me to talk about these young men in the Unity Council. He wanted to talk about the philosophy behind it, some of the things we try to implement, and basically the results that we're having, some of the things that we're seeing in regards to the Unity Council. These 4 young men, they're part of what we call the Unity Council at Fort Myers, North Fort Myers High School. Did I just say Fort Myers? North Fort Myers High School, and their responsibility is to, first of all, foster morale within the school in terms of our football program, which at times can be somewhat separate. We most of us have gone to school, so we know the term jocks and all those different things.
Go back to that again.
I did. Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Jim Harbaugh is credited, with starting the Unity Council. It was something that I've heard that he developed. I'm not sure where he got it from. A friend of mine who was a coach at USF spoke really highly of it. He actually sent me what they use, their breakdown of how they use it, and instilled it in their program. And I kind of took that and tried to modify it as best as I could, for our high school student athletes. So as I said, they're responsible for team morale. They kind of sit on a panel as indeed a council. For our young men, we operate by a point system. So when it comes to any infraction or transgressions that they have, they're assigned a certain amount of points. And once they get to certain points, there's certain things that they have to go to. Some I won't, mention here. There's some things they have to go to, including, physical labor. Communication is the biggest thing that we try to foster because, young men don't know how to communicate, don't want to communicate. And these guys, once they get a certain point, they have to sit in front of a team, a group of their peers, actually talk and communicate about what's going on. These guys usually pass down some sort of, I'm not going to call it punishment, but some sort of measures that our kids have to meet in order to ultimately, meet our team standards and goals. And naturally, our coaching staff also counsels these guys on about how to be leaders and, how to deal with a number of situations. And like I said, these guys are not in an easy position. They have to, at a time where everybody wants to be cool in high school, they have to have hard conversations, with their peers, and they ultimately have to, give a recommendation to the staff on what to do with said player. The first time I actually implemented it did not work out. And one thing I learned really quick, like I said, I retired in 2012, so I didn't know what I was getting into. One thing I learned really quick is that I had to really be able to sell and bring on board not only my staff, but my football team and the school itself. And I didn't do that adequately. And it kind of fizzled out in the first year. So I let it die down a little bit, and I came back my second year and brought it on basically with a new class of kids. And right now it's going.
When did you start?
When I started, this year's the first year. Yes. So the first year I tried to implement it. I let another year pass, and then I tried to install it, and I just implemented it with these kids. This year, and it's actually going great. I sat down and thought about it. I had to question how much I really believed in it. Not that it was just a piece of paper or something cool that I could say, hey, USF does this, Coach Harbaugh does this, but how much do I believe in it? Because that's what these kids want to see is how much I believe in it and just how well I will hold myself to, a number of things that we have, inside our Unity Council. But it's going great. And one thing I find out is that the kids are really attracted to it. It's like a game to them. Oh, I've got 2 points, I've got 4 points. Coach, how can I work it off? All those different things. And the best thing about it is that they clearly understand where the boundaries are. They clearly understand what our standards are, which was something I took for granted, being a young coach, mentor, leader. And like I said, I couldn't do it without these guys. And they know what they're responsible for. First of all, they have to have good grades. All these guys are excellent, academically, and they have to model, what we're looking for. And that's what we're trying to foster first and foremost is accountability within the group, within the team, because if I can't do that as a head coach, I'm not doing, really much of anything. I'm just kind of, holding the position, telling kids what to do. But if I can't inspire them, to ultimately be leaders amongst their peers, then, I'm not getting much done at all. But it's been great. It's been great, for the duration of this year. And I already kind of know a number of things that I need to strengthen and communicate a tad bit better.
Yes, you're in the Dunbar area.
Yes.
Are you working with Mr. Muhammad
Oh, I know Mr. Muhammad very well.
on
Yes.
the pennies for community progress?
Yes, I'm not in per se in the penalties for community progress. Per se, I actually know about the program. I've worked with a number of leaders there in the community, Mr. Muhammad and most of the pastors at the church, most of the teachers within the community. To be honest, I tried to be really, what's the word I'm looking for? Try to be really connected to what I'm doing. Because I really realize if I don't excel or do very well in my small part that I'm given, that ultimately I lose credibility. So I do know about the program. Most of the time I go speak over at the Quality of Life Center. But first and foremost, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I'm doing and taking my time to, become a leader and mentor that I, ultimately need to be. Because I'm very young. I'm very young at this in terms of experience.
Okay,
But if you have questions about the program?
No, I was just thinking, you were talking about your Unity Council.
Yes.
And yesterday, there was a meeting at the News Press, and we had over 100 people, business leaders show up.
Yes.
To help establish a referendum.
Yes.
To have a children's health services department in Lee County. I think this might be something that the Unity Council members might consider educating themselves about and getting involved in the referendum.
I appreciate that.
We're looking for support from all different avenues. Business, young children would be ideal.
No, I totally agree. And and one thing I do know, in terms of programs, this program and a number of programs, I can tell you just from being, being in the community, growing up in the community, and actually being very frustrated, of trying to do a number of things within the community that, a lot of it is naturally going to hinge on leadership that's there in the community, but also repairing the chains, kind of the broken links. I'm one of the kids that didn't have a father. I mean, I can count on my hands how many times, I saw my father in my young life. I have two memories, of my, two distinct memories of my father. One time I remember me and my brother, we were playing, karate on the bed. My brother kicked me off the bed. He wanted a little battle. So my younger brother kicked me off the bed and I fell down. It was an iron on the floor. So I hit my head on the iron and I fell on the floor. My forehead's pretty much split wide open. So I remember running up to my dad and saying, hey, hey Dad, look, and I remember, he was in the bathroom, he looked at me and said, go see your mother. I'm just exactly what he did, Second thing I remember, I was living in the Michigan Projects at the time. He was walking through I'm serious, he was walking through the front room and he stepped on the rack. Those are my two memories of my father. So my point being is that a lot of these young kids, they really don't know how to take on male leadership. They don't know how to take a male being overly critical to them or actually showing them love, within the community. So, my relationship with Mr. Muhammad or Carl Burnside or someone in the community, just that consistency just speaks volumes to, you know, to the young kids. It doesn't always even matter what we're working on, but just the fact that they see me taking guidance and leadership and actually working with someone older than me. Now I'm working with them, and we're trying to hold them responsible for working with young kids. You know, so I think when they see that consistency, you know, I think that really goes a long way, because a lot of times young kids, they don't really know the value or what we're actually trying to get done, but they actually do see us working together and be on the team. And I can tell you, they really struggle with understanding what's involved in being in a family, you know, a real family that really has some values and really is trying to get things done, a football team, a community. You know, those are the things that they really struggle with. So that's what I try to first and foremost do, is just to be involved with elder members in the community. Mr. Muhammad is one of those guys, and I'm going to make sure that these guys do their research and get on top of it and make sure that we're out there, you know, out there on the ground getting things done.
My question is, I know this is in regards to the Unity Council. How
Yes.
did they handle the situation that happened last
Yes,
year
very
at the
good.
kickoff game?
What they did, well, last year we didn't have a unit count. Last year we just actually put it back in. It was pretty much after that, after all that situation happened. And they've had to actually vote on the fate of that same player. They did a great job of voting on, you know, said player and, you know, other guys within the council. That was sort of the things one of the things that I realized, you know, my responsibility, you know, as a football coach. You know, we had a game. Of course, we had a game that most people don't know. One of my players, or a couple of my players, actually got into a fight in our first game of the season. First and foremost, just emotionally, when I came in, I told my kids this yesterday in practice, so I'm glad you brought it up. I came in and I bawled. I was crying. I had to be, my wife had to console me, because I was just so upset, because I always felt like my mother was watching over me, and the display that we had on the field that night was something that I never envisioned what would happen. And that was really one of the problems, that I had not envisioned or, you know, understood that this could take place among young men. That game was one of the biggest games in quite some time that we've had here in Fort Myers. The player that was mostly involved was a kid that's a very, very talented kid that everybody wanted to come see. Actually, he was under pressure. What I did find out later, there's a lot of guys in the community that were indeed betting on the game. The kids stood to make a lot of money off every touchdown and tackle and all those different things. You know, so I didn't really do a good job of getting with the head coach, you know, of South Fort Myers and saying, hey, what can we do, like we're doing in this room right now, what can we do to kind of calm some of the anxiety that these young men are going to have, you know, during the football game. We should have met as a group. We should have met before the football game. And we could have had a better effect. We could have had a better outcome from that game, because that was something that our entire community came out to see. They wanted to see good sportsmanship and good football, and they expected that, you know, naturally from Earnest who's, you know, played, you know, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and has modeled that, and that did not happen. And I took full responsibility for what happened. So, you know, these guys are in that position where we're trying to eliminate the small things that lead to those big things that happen, especially in sports. You know, in sports where you have to react in the moment and you have to be, you know, poised in the moment. You know, so these guys have had to vote on everything from, you know, kids skipping classes, you know, to kids being tardy to school, you know, to kids ultimately, you know, fighting or doing, you know, more major things. So, yes.
To dovetail on that, I wanted to ask, how do you balance the disciplinary side with the motivation side of that council? How do you balance those two? Because I think both portions of that is important for the kids.
You said, how do I balance the discipline side and the motivation side?
Of the council.
One thing I learned, it's a great skill. It's a great skill. I'm not saying I balance it well all the time. I think it's a great skill to being able to naturally balance things. You know, a lot has to do with being a great listener. A lot has to do with listening to our young kids and understanding what, you know, they're experiencing. You know, right now I have, you know, no clue about, you know, some of the things that they have access to, so a lot has to do with listening. A lot has to do, again, with having great counsel. You know, make sure that I have great people around me, that I'm working, you know, with the administration of the school, that when I go home with my wife, that you know, that I pick her brain about some of the things that I'm going with. Some of the former coaches that I played with, I lean on, Coach John Gruden. I call quite a bit, you know, very frequently to kind of understand, you know, how he would handle certain situations, and 9 times out of 10 it's a lot different than I would. You know, but for me, I've always been kind of an information hound in the sense, you know, that, you know what, I need to gather as much information I can, but I also need to be fully connected, you know, to what's going on to, you know, with these young kids. And I think once you take everything in, you know, I think if you're a person that can, you know, fully handle all those different things, I think naturally becomes your mode of, you know, operation. You know, so I balanced it, you know, by first and foremost leaning on others, which is one thing I did not do as a football player. I thought I could do everything by myself because I had to do everything by myself when I was a football player, when I was competing against other guys. And I brought that into, I believe, the building and into coaching high school football, my competitive nature, you know, from being in sports and having to be solely concerned with myself and how I perform, as opposed to, you know, these young men, their anxiety, the different things that they're going on in the hallways, and ultimately leading to their performance in the classroom and out on the football field. You know, so a lot has to do with me being able to calm my own anxiety, talk to teachers, talk to leaders, talk to members of the community, and being able to, you know what, address things according to what I have right now, the information I have, what my instinct is right now, and then to be able to gather information afterwards to be able to get better at what I'm doing. You know, so a lot of it is really about skill development, you know, for me, and that's one of the things that sports has always taught me, and taught me how to take one skill and ultimately make it great. You know, so that's something that's really transferable into me being a mentor and head coach, is being able to, you know, identify the skills that I need to have and to be able to fully develop them. But first and foremost, I have to lean on others and actually do what I'm asking these kids to do, and that's to be coachable. I'm sorry, I keep skipping. I'm going right over. Yeah.
I'm losing my voice. My son is a high school basketball coach at Jeff Stewart High School, which is right outside of Washington, D.C.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if this is a program that you've created yourself. I was just texting him while you were speaking because I thought that it was, applicable to his particular high school.
Yes.
Is this something that you're encouraged, that you've created this curriculum or this council yourself, or is this something that you could replicate very easily?
Yes.
If you had a connection within other coaches, you know?
Yes, it's something that I did not create the philosophy. Like I said, Jim Harbaugh coaches the Michigan Wolverines right now. It was something that's been credited to him. So it's kind of traveled, you know, all around the college ranks. One of the good things is that, you know, the young kids, you know, we tell them they don't fully believe everything that we tell them. You know, so one time we were watching the LSU Tigers, you know, playing the game, and they had a certain member on their team that I was about to break a record. It was a sophomore or freshman running back. He was about to break a record in one of their games, and right there on the sideline, they communicated with the council, you know, about indeed whether or not they wanted to let this young freshman or sophomore, I believe he was, break the record. But my point being was he mentioned that in his press conference. So all our kids got to hear, oh wow, they have a unity council. So it was something that was given to me by a coach from USF, the defensive coordinator at USF, a guy by the name of Raymond Woody, and it's all over college football right now. So I think it's natural that, you know, we implement it at the high school level, you know, for our young kids. So it's something that's totally that's already been out there that you can implement anywhere, and maybe tailored to the intimate needs of, you know, whatever school you're at, whatever community you're in. I'd be gladly, you know, I gladly share it with him, share it with you.
I was going to ask you, how would he go about?
Yes, I have it all, and I can email it to you and get it to you right away. I mean, that's the reason we do
Great
this.
for that, you know,
Yes.
connect between there and, you know, the Washington, D.C. community.
Yes. That's the reason we do this, to be able to share it, and to be able to share our experiences with what we're having with the young men right now. I can take any football question, leadership question, any kind of question. It don't even, because there's always something much deeper tied to it.
So it seems like obviously moving in the right direction, right, the program.
Yes.
I guess she kind of touched a little bit on what I was going to ask, which was as I guess the program evolved, because it seems like you're still working on.
Yes.
Kind of
It's always a work in progress.
What's your vision for the future of the program?
Yes.
Your impact locally.
Right.
And secondly, do you have the counsel you seek, not just the young people you met in your career, but locally that might have a more hands-on approach towards helping you better grow the program?
Yes, without a doubt. You know, first and foremost, how I kind of see things, unfolded. As a leader here, coach. Part of me coming back was naturally, I just believe in investing in the community, so I believe in coming back here and opening the business. Again, in the Dunbar community, we have very few business owners. We don't have a chamber of commerce. We don't have a number of things that, they're, in the community. So I wanted to bring back a number of those experiences. I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to be a football coach. I wanted to do all those things. But speaking in terms of the football program, ultimately I'm really influenced by a lot of great coaches. I'm influenced by John Wooden, and I'm influenced by John Gruden, John Wooden, a number of different coaches, Tony Dungy, that was there before. So a lot of that I'm connected to. When I came into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I came the year after the Super Bowl, so I was very fortunate. And I came to the Florida Gators when, of course, at the tail end of Steve Spurrier's career, but he had been very successful and set a number of trends, during over the decade that he was there. So my point being is that I got a chance to come into a culture with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that was really unrivaled in the NFL. Guys like Derrick Brooks, guys like Ward Dunn, Mike Allstott, Tony Dungy, who was just there 2 years ago. Off that coaching staff, there's many head coaches in the NFL. Most people don't really realize how many head coaches there are in the NFL that grace the halls of One Buck Place, there in Tampa. Right now it's Mike Tomlin, you had Herm Edwards, you had Lovie Smith, you had Monty Kiffin, you had Gus, coach of Jacksonville Jaguars right now. All those guys were under the tutelage of Tony Dungy, John Gruden, and that staff there at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But my point being was, I came into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the year after the Super Bowl, and those guys put me in check. Those guys communicated to me what it was about and how you build a class organization, how you go out and you be a member of the community, an extension of the community, and what playing sports and being on a team was all about. One guy in particular, Warren Sapp, who is, in hot water right now and can't seem to get it right outside of football. He did a lot for me. Just in the way he communicated the things that he did out on the field. I don't know that it's manifested in his actions, but the way he went about football was honest. I remember my first game playing in Tokyo. We played the New York Jets in Tokyo. It was my first game. We were all the way across the world, and I remember fumbling the ball and leading to a touchdown. I remember Warren Sapp coming over to me right away and communicating to me what it was about to run the ball and have the hopes and the dreams of the team in my hand every time I touched it, and the importance of playing the running back position. And Mike Allstott was another guy that tutored me. But my point being is, I really want to establish a culture of excellence. Very, very simple. I like to establish a culture of excellence in the way that I know how to teach that is football. So the way I know how to teach that is through sports. So I didn't try to. I tried a number of business ventures. As soon as I got a big contract, I did what every other NFL athlete did. I had a million things that I wanted to do. I went into trucking, and I went into all these different things that I didn't quite know how to do. I hadn't studied, I hadn't been mentored in those areas, and I lost a lot of money. That's just how it happened. A lot of people did in real estate and those things during those times. That was a painful experience. It really was. What I know how to teach is through sports, and sports is my ministry. So I really believe that I like to establish a culture of excellence. Not that it hasn't been done around here. There's been a lot of really good coaches around here. Sam Sirianni is one. A number of guys that have come before me. But like I said, I do believe that I'm an extension of that, and I'm a guy that's in another generation that can continue that and make it actually better. That's what I believe. I believe I'm charged with making those things better, and I do believe that God fashioned my experiences in a way that I could touch every single part of this community, be able to fully understand and with credibility, talk to young kids about what they're going through and how we navigate those certain things. So a lot is being able to take away and strip away a number of the excuses, a number of the barriers. I lived in Lehigh, and during that time it was a much different Lehigh than it was now. I was one of the only African Americans out there. So, I lived in Cape Coral and parts of Cape Coral, which was one of the same things, and I lived in the Dunbar community. A number of things I've already said. But point being, I'm kind of a representation or extension of all these guys and all those experiences. So a culture of excellence is what I really, want to establish. And I believe sports is awesome because everybody watches it. is something that you witness in the moment, when you're in the stands and you see a last minute drive, that kind of represents the character, of a football team. That's big. I could run an insurance business. I could probably make $100 million, and these kids wouldn't know any different. I'm just being honest. And that's one of the things that I think is a big problem, is that there are certain things that aren't readily observable, for our young kids. They don't really know what that, the average businessman, the average banker, or the average, real estate agent really goes through. They really don't. So coaches are charged with, work ethic. Making sure these guys have a work ethic, make sure they keep an open mind, and that they're able to segue into a number of these different things. So it's a huge responsibility that we have. One, like I said, I'm trying to, definitely get better at, but ultimately I want to, establish a culture that's kind of fashioned, which everybody, has to do it that way, fashioned from my experiences as an individual and from the mentorship that I've had, here in the community. And speaking on that second question, there's a number of coaches here that I lean on as well. One of my biggest mentors is a guy by the name of, and he doesn't live in this area, but a pastor by the name of R.V. Brown. He is a 6'3", 270-pound man. He's 60-something years old. He still gets up at 4 o'clock. He works out in the morning. He was the first man I felt comfortable giving a hug. He was the first one I felt comfortable giving a hug. And it's at times where I need a hug, I call him, I tell him I need a hug. I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest. Things are tough for me right now. And I never had that kind of embrace, so I would like my kids to be comfortable with having that kind of, embracing me in that way, because we have a lot of kids that need it. But I like to build something that people can look towards and say, hey, this is a possibility, and this is what these kids need. That's what I want to do at the end of the day.
I applaud you.
Thank you.
I have no expectation for this, really. Expecting to hear this. And you mentioned a little bit about Dunbar.
Yes.
Trying to establish something. Is there an opportunity, are there certain leaders in that institutions that can establish different organizational units and consistency, permanency,
Yes.
so that people can level headed responses to issues? Does that exist in that?
It does not. It does not. I'm just going to be honest. I think one of the issues is culturally. There's lots of society. The thing that's obviously prevalent in society. One thing that I had to learn. When I grew up, on my wall I had a poster of Deion Sanders and Bo Jackson. There was those guys that I could not touch, that I could not reach, that I could not have a conversation with. And young kids were shunning everybody that's not Deion Sanders, not Bo Jackson. That's one of the issues. I had a number of, in my community particularly, I lived right by Dunbar High School, I had a number of educators that lived in my community. Like I said, my uncle was a pharmacist, he lived one street over. When I was a young kid, I never sought them for any kind of counsel during that time. I didn't quite understand it. A number of things, when I was growing up, had, obviously became prevalent. It was right after the explosion of crack and all those different things. So the superstars in our neighborhood were, crack dealers. I mean, to be honest, they were drug dealers. During that time, which a lot of drug dealers become rappers, and naturally, I was no different. I was a, Tupac fan, I was all the different guys fan, and everything they said, I really pretty much idolized, until somebody was able to, really penetrate me, or I was able to have experiences that countered those things. So I don't think a lot of the young kids are really getting experiences, that teach them, that counter the experiences that they're having. So until I got to live with Teddy Dupay, who was a great basketball player here, who lived, not in my community, but lived, very well. Until I got to live with him and play ball with him, until I got to sit at the table with others who were not in my community. That's why Martin Luther King always used the imagery of sitting down at the table and eating. Until I got to have fellowship and those different things, nothing really spoke to me like that. So when I ate with other families and did those different things, that's what really started moving me. The other biggest thing that my mom forced me to do, that I tell you all the guys, she forced me to read. She forced me to read. One Christmas, I didn't get a single gift for Christmas. I guess she got kind of fed up with us not, playing with our gifts or whatnot. I mean, the gift that she got me was a set of Encyclopedia Britannicas. She did. And I mean, it was this big, long shelf, as long as this table, full of encyclopedias. And I thought she was crazy, and I couldn't be popular for Christmas and all those things. I didn't have a bike, I didn't have anything. I had to play with last year's gifts. But at some point, I started reading those books.
So what did you tell your friends?
I just could go outside. I didn't go outside. I just waited till break, got back, and then, you know, I think as long as I started playing some good football, they forget about it. You know, but to be honest, I started reading those books. You know, so when things became no longer a mystery to me, like once I started reading about Bo Jackson, then I understood the struggles of Bo Jackson. When I started reading about Deion Sanders, I understood it. You know, so reading, you know, it opened up my world in ways that you wouldn't believe. You know, I had a chance to learn different philosophies, so I read about some of the extreme as the Black Panthers or Nelson Mandela. I was reading all these things at 10, 11, 12 years old, you know, which is what I do. Young men don't pick up books these days. You know, so my point being is that I was tied to a struggle that was not mine, and I also understood that I wasn't the only one struggling. You know, a lot of kids are really self-absorbed in terms of they think nobody's going through what they're going through, and a lot of young kids that just cannot identify with anybody older than them, and first and foremost, anybody that's living decently. That's one of the baddest problems. You know, in our culture, they're taught that the more you struggle and the more you embrace the negativity, the better you are. I mean, you have a story. If you go to prison, you get credibility. You get credit, you get massive credibility. I mean, everybody will champion your cause. I mean, that's just what happens. So I think psychologically, these kids like to find themselves in a place where they feel oppressed, where they can say they're oppressed, you know, where they kind of build natural excuses and they don't want to let up off of it. You know, a lot of kids live pretty decently and will not accept the fact that they live okay. A lot of these kids have two parents. The kid that killed the grandmother in that community, he has two parents. I don't know this family. He has two really good parents. He just doesn't want to accept that because it's just not cool to accept that. You know, he doesn't feel like he can walk the streets and own that, you know what, I live pretty good and my parents work hard, and that's good enough. You know what I mean? So it's just this disconnect in communication and vision. And I do think somebody like myself, being able to instill it, first and foremost, in kids their age, for someone their age to be able to walk the walk and talk the talk and to be able to follow that, I think is a big, big, big deal. You know, how we go about that is what we're talking about right now. Like I said, I don't have all the answers, but I do know what the issues are, and I would be bluntly honest, you know, about some of the things that we are embracing in our community. You know, a lot of things, yes, we can kind of say a lot of things were maybe not, you know, placed there by people that aren't in the community, but they're there. You know, so what are your principles in the midst of all these distractions, in the midst of these things that weigh heavily on your mind, on your body, and what are you going to do about it? What do you really want for yourself? And I think we have to answer that question. What do we really want for ourselves? A lot of young black men are talented very early. You mean they you know, obviously they have a certain level of talent in the sports area. You know, if it's entertainment and those different things. So our rock stars are very young kids, and young kids, which is a small group of kids who sell drugs and are killing and doing those different things, are rock stars. These kids love these guys. I'm just being honest. They love these guys. These guys are rock stars. Every time I turn around, they're listening to these guys. They're not very good rappers, but they just listen to them because they have credibility on the streets that they're walking every single day. And the parents do not. Their parents do not. And that's a big, big, big issue, is how do we turn that around? You know, which is, like I said, is something that we need to clearly define a plan of action when it comes to that. And I think these programs are great. We talk about Kids for Progress. I think these programs are great. So I think instilling, you know, certain things that will be an avenue for some of these kids is fantastic. But I think it's just a very intensive process that really has to happen. And we need to be honest about what we're facing. And then, you know, be courageous about, you know, how we combat it. My wife said that. Yeah. Yeah.
You have a support mechanism, people following you in this area that help spread it over.
No, I wouldn't say that. You know, I think one thing I learned about coaching is, you know, even though coaching, I have every coach in my staff has a different philosophy. At times, they think things should go different with. You know, it's just kind of the way it works. You know, so do I have, you know, I think the more that I develop the fact that that I have the skills to be a leader, I think the more that I'll be followed in terms of those different things. That's the one thing I love about life, that is fair in the sense that you have to earn everything. And, you know, I can't say, hey, I play football, you know, follow me. You know, I can't do that. So I think the more I develop those skills as a leader, the more I'm intent about it, the more it'll be evident. You know, and I think hopefully that, you know, some philosophy that I have or I'm connected to, you know, ultimately leads to that, the change that we want to see. But do I have people like champion everything? I said, no, that's not the case. No. Yes, I do. I do have people that will help me through the process. But, you know, when you cling to certain things, you know, I think we've clinged, you know, overly clinged somewhat to sports. So I think a lot of people, because the leadership is a little bit distorted, I think a lot of people cling to the kids because, if you run a football pretty well at 10 years old and, you have a YouTube video, I mean, everybody's focused on that kid, so you have adults that really compromise themselves and kind of be in the midst of kids because, it seems that all the, the power and stuff is kind of, saturated in one place. So I think a large part of us being able to broaden ourselves, and even within the sports realm, I believe that we can broaden ourselves within sports. I mean, there's other sports we play other than football. You know what I mean? And a lot of kids don't want to play anything other than football. So I think if we can broaden ourselves, have this experience, read some, start to do some of those things, then I think we can do better. I don't have any other answers for anybody other than hard work. You know what I mean? It's just like, you get all these programs, but you're not going to work hard. What's going to happen? So a lot of these kids are missing work ethic and missing, doing the things that you just really don't want to do. It's not the funnest experience to read books. I gave it a shot. My mom, I got bored and I read one. I fell in love with it because I fell in love with what I was reading about. So I think kids need to do the same. Push kids to do the same. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody wants to say, hey, I want my kids to have what I didn't have, so they kind of spoil it. It's kind of odd, I think, that kids who don't have a lot of the whole spoiled. It's just a lot that's going on that I think needs to be attacked. And I think our philosophy, and the way we see things need to, be attacked. Yes, we don't have a lot of male role models. And mostly the majority of moms are at home that are being tough, on the kids. But even within that, I think the way, some of our, our mothers at home need to be relevant, push, some of our kids into leadership positions. I don't care that the guys not have black skin color. Push them towards somebody who's a leader out in the community. Okay, if you embrace him, if you keep pushing him with consistency, he'll at some point. Human beings are designed to be that way. So push them towards something positive and organized and has structure. And these kids will be fine. Kids are most of the problems are not with kids. These kids are flexible. That I've learned. So we just have to. We have to be open about some of the things that we're want to put our kids in.
Ernest, welcome to Bonita Springs.
Thank you.
Your efforts.
Thank you.
Just was elected mayor here, so welcome.
Congratulations. I heard that. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. When I looked, I had to Google because I couldn't remember. Mm-hmm. But you were a superstar in college.
Yes.
High school, college.
Yes.
Learned great under the Gators.
Thank
but went undrafted.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at a guy like Tom Brady that was basically undrafted. Right. How much, when scouts are looking at talent versus, I guess what you would say, maybe stability at home, mm-hmm. how much does that play into it? Or are they, in your mind, looking for the best athletes, period?
They're doing it more than ever before. I can tell you that much. A number of things that have happened over the years, I think people are really getting that character matters. But they're always the guy that is so talented that people are going to take a gamble. But they're looking at it more than before. I mean, they're digging into, guys' backgrounds right now, and, all the way back to elementary school. They're talking to elementary school teachers. I've heard stories of them following them around on airplanes and, when doing all these different things. So they're well invested into finding out what the character is of, the guys that they're drafting. My story, again, is that I was not drafted. I sat there for 2 days, hoping to hear my name called. After that, I got a tryout. It was basically a tryout. I wasn't guaranteed a contract. A rookie tryout with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which I ended up, being able to go into camp. But during that time, I got disappointed by some friends. I had some friends of mine. I was making some money, signing cards and all these different things. So a bunch of friends of mine took basically every dime I had. So me and my girlfriend at the time and my daughter were basically on the streets. We went from hotel to hotel for about 5 to 6 months. Until I could actually afford to get a place to live. My mom was, just making ends meet. I had a sister that was, off in school and all those different things. So I had to find a way, during a very tough time in my life. I had a dream. I believed I was good enough to play football, which I was. But for some reason, I didn't time well. I didn't do all these different things that they look at in terms of the NFL draft. But I did have the character. And in terms of the war of attrition that happens in NFL football camps, that's how I made it every single year. It was through football camp, trust me. Football camps are brutal. But I was always the guy. I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was studying my playbook until 11 o'clock at night. I tell these guys, I beat out every single guy in my position because I was a better student. That's how it happened. I'm telling you. John Gruden had the most complicated system you would ever want to see. So the fact that I could actually grab that system and make it better than what it was, I didn't care how talented that guy was in the building. John Gruden respected that because first and foremost, he respected the system. You know what I mean? So I was a better student than every single guy I beat out. I mean, we had some impressive running backs there. Thomas Jones, who went on to have a great career with the Jets. He was there for a year and he left. Of course, Mike Allstott, Michael Pittman. You know, a number of guys that came to the building with talent. Some talented guys that you've never heard of. Some of the best running backs I've ever seen with my own two eyes as far as talent is concerned. But you know, I always kind of credit the fact that I had the study skills that I had, the diligence that I had as far as preparation, allowed me to play almost 10 years in the NFL for the same football team. And plus I had a commitment to the community of Tampa Bay at the time. So I'm always proud to say I went, every time that I went to camp and I had a chance to earn a job, I came away with a job, you know, during that time. And that's a brief 3 weeks period, but you wouldn't believe after a week the things that guys are doing after they get, you know, after they're in the same building for a week. All of a sudden you start to see all the girls come in and you see all this different stuff because guys are wearing down in camp and they can't stick to their vision. And I was a guy that could always focus, you know, during that time that you had a chance to make the ball club. You know, so that went a long way in terms of character for myself. And that's what I try to instill in, you know, in our young men is to understand that there's competition out there. It really is. And it's, you know, your physical traits aren't going to take you all the way. You have to develop boldly to be able to go out and to, first of all, be an asset to a company, be an asset to a team, and to ultimately compete with yourself first and foremost. I always compete with myself. I always try to make myself better every single day. I was harder on myself than anybody, than any coach could ever be. You know, so when John Gruden was cursing me out and all these different things, I was cursing myself out there, and I found out, you know what, this guy's right. I need to do this a little bit, you know, a little bit better.
Well, we're just getting a high school in Vegas.
Yes,
as you've
everybody.
seen, so we'll look forward to seeing you in a few years.
That'd be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. And that's one thing I'm proud, just like I said, to be in this area and be connected to, to the schools here. I spoke at probably every single school here, in Lee County, and it's something I'm not like on a tour or anything, but I like to just go say, hey, shoot for the stars. Shoot for the stars. I really do encourage you, you guys to shoot for the stars when it's, when this school comes here, because you know what, the better one school is, it kind of sets a standard for another. And I'm just trying to set a standard in my own very small, thing that I'm responsible for with these young guys. Thank you.
All right.
Is that it? Oh, thank you. So I'd like to thank first and foremost for being invited here. I'd like to thank God just for the opportunity to speak. And if anybody wants to anyhow get in contact with me, I take down the information or anything like that. So whatever I can do, I love to continue. I'm big about continuing the conversation. So just to let you know, I'm very open for that. And I thank you for your time. Thank you. Oh,
Nice to meet you.